This is the fastest way to level up in the game, and this is how you max out your Blox fruit overnight. These are 10 of the craziest tricks that pros abuse that you don't. So first up is the Buddha farming technique. And this technique is the best in the whole game if you want to level up as fast as possible. So the way you do this trick is you just need a Buddha fruit and you don't have to master it or upgrade it at all. Why you want to use this fruit is for its size. Because when you transform, you have much more range and your enemies can't hit you when you can. And Buddha works best with fighting styles, mainly superhuman and godhuman, but you can also use swords. But if you're still in the first sea, you should probably use water kung fu. Man, I wish someone told me these tricks when I was back at level 50. But while we're on the topic of Buddha, I'll show you how to win your raids every time. So obviously you're gonna want to equip the Buddha fruit and you're gonna want to choose an ice raid. And once you get in the raid, all you have to do is transform into your Buddha and just spam the enemies. And make sure instead of taking the boat to the next island, just dash because it's much faster. And finally, when you get to the boss, just stand in place and spam because they don't do very much damage. And if you do this method correctly, you will eventually get tens of thousands of fragments. And awaken all your fruits. This next trick, I bet it's something you definitely did not know. And it's that you could auto-click and Blox fruits. And what this does is it makes it 10 times easier to aura farm, Blox fruit farm, and instinct farm. So how you AFK aura farm is just by standing on the spawn point of an NPC and just auto-clicking right there so you can max out your aura. And if you use an elemental fruit, they can't even hit you. And you basically do the same thing for instinct farming, except you don't have to auto-click. And finally, for Blox fruit grinding, all you have to do is just auto-click one move over and over again to get your mastery. Now this next trick shows you how to complete your quest much faster and get lots more levels. Because you know when you're trying to level up and do a boss quest and the boss is just not there? Well, here's a solution. All you have to do is go to the top right of your screen and click on the icon. Once you've clicked the icon, you'll see thousands of servers for you to choose from. And most likely the server you join will have the boss you're looking for. And you'll be able to level up so much faster. And while we're on the topic of server hopping, this brings us to our next trick. And this lets you make millions of dollars really fast. So what you do is you make your way up to the upper skylands, which is easiest with a flight power or teleporting. And once you're here, you're going to want to get to this big stone statue. And then you're going to want to go through this exact entrance and break it down using any move. Because once you jump up, there will be a bunch of chests ready for you to claim, giving you tens of thousands of dollars each time you do this. And then all you have to do is just server hop again. And in Blox fruits, when you're doing your quests, you have to travel a lot. And the fastest way to do this is simply just using the light fruit. Because the light fruit is the fastest travel in the whole game. And I know that some of you might be saying the enforcer boat is a bit faster, but when you count all the time to buy the boat, the light fruit is just way faster. And with the light fruit, you can fly up into the sky, which you cannot do with the enforcer. And this next tip will help your game quality. Because if you're not getting very good game quality, I'll show you how to fix that. All you have to do is just go to your settings and click graphics mode and put it all the way down. And then your Blox fruits will be running much faster. And turning down your graphics quality also makes rooms brighter that were really dark before. Now for this next tip, it helps you kill bosses much easier. And you do this by just hitting the boss that you're targeting once and then hiding behind a wall or a pillar or something. Then combine this with your observation hotkey so you can see them at all times. Then you can be hitting them through the wall and they can't hit you. And you can farm much easier with bosses that are higher levels than you. Now this next tip is mostly for PvP, and it's how you can see the damage you're dealing to enemies. All you have to do is go to the settings on the left side and then just turn on damage counter. This lets you see how much damage you're doing to players and NPCs, which is really helpful, especially if you know how much HP an enemy has. This next tip of the video can help you spawn much closer to the enemies you're doing for your quests. Because sometimes when you spawn in as a pirate, you spawn really far from the enemies, and sometimes when you spawn as a marine, you spawn really far from the enemies. One really good example of this is at Marine Fortress. Because if you spawn in as a pirate, you spawn way over here, which is very far from all the enemies you're doing for your quests. And if you spawn in as a marine, you spawn right next to all the enemies and the quest giver, which will definitely save you a lot of time and help you gain levels much faster. And make sure to try out all these tips and tricks for yourself, because you'll end up making much more money, getting much more levels, and just progressing much faster in the game.